Hello everyone, and thank you for listening. Today, I'll be sharing a summary of our research on penguin populations and how their behavior changes across different environments. Our study focused on observing penguins in two biomes, the grasslands and the Arctic. We wanted to understand not only where penguins are found more frequently, but also how temperature and activity levels such as sitting or standing relate to their behavior. To do this, we used citizen science photo data, which allowed us to analyze real images taken in the field. This approach let us gather a large amount of information without physically being in these remote locations. As a group, we recorded the number of penguins in each image, the temperature at that moment, and whether the penguins were mostly sitting or mostly standing. These simple observations gave us meaningful insights into how penguins interact with their surroundings. From our preliminary analysis, one of the most noticeable patterns was that penguins appeared more frequently in the grasslands than in the Arctic. This may suggest that the grasslands provided more suitable conditions during the time of observation, or that the penguins may gather there in larger numbers depending on the season or environmental shifts. Another important trend we discovered involved temperature. We saw that larger groups of penguins tended to appear in warmer temperatures. This pattern highlights a possible relationship between temperature and penguin movement or gathering behavior. Warmer conditions may encourage penguins to spread out or appear in greater numbers within certain regions. On the other hand, when temperatures were colder, we observed that penguins were more likely to sit down and group closely together. This is consistent with what we know about penguin behavior. They huddle or sit to conserve warmth and reduce exposure to cold conditions. Seeing this behavior reflected clearly in our data helps confirm how strongly temperature influences their activity levels. Overall, our findings broaden the understanding of how environmental factors such as temperature and biome type affect penguin behavior. But this project also highlights something even more meaningful, the power of public involvement in scientific research. Through citizen science platforms like Zooverse, everyday people can contribute valuable data that helps researchers study wildlife in ways that would be difficult to accomplish alone. In the end, our study not only revealed new insights about penguin behavior, but also showed how collaborative, community-supported research can strengthen conservative efforts and deepen our knowledge of the natural world.
Hi guys, today I'm going to be telling you what this project is and why it matters. Citizen science has become a really powerful tool in modern research. Instead of only relying on professional scientists, many projects now invite everyday people from around the world to help collect and analyze data. One example of this is Penguin Watch, a project on Zooniverse platform led by researchers from Oxford University and other institutions. Their main goal is to monitor and better understand penguin behavior, population trends, and breeding success in southern oceans and surrounding regions. Now you might wonder, why penguins? Penguins are actually really important indicators of ocean health. Their populations respond directly to things like changes in sea ice and availability of prey and shifts in climate conditions. So when scientists study penguin behaviors, such as nesting, raising chicks, or foraging, they're also learning about larger environmental changes happening in marine ecosystems. The problem is that Antarctica and these remote islands are extremely difficult and expensive to observe year-round. That's where Penguin Watch comes in. The project places time-lapse cameras in penguin colonies across Antarctica. These cameras take thousands of images throughout the year, capturing everything happening in these colonies. But with so many images, it's impossible for researchers to sort and analyze them by themselves. So they rely on citizen science, people like us, to go online and help mark adult penguins, chicks, and eggs. This makes it possible to process huge amounts of data much more efficiently and gives scientists better estimates of breeding success and behavior over time. As our group, our role in this project was to help identify and count penguins in the images. Not only did this support the researchers, but it also gave us first-hand experience in scientific observation, data analysis, and understanding how research is actually conducted. By participating, we became part of a much larger effort that connects public involvement to real environmental conservation.
Next on the list to talk about is the methods and materials. The methods and materials of the Penguin Watch project first started by each person going to the website called Zooverse. Each person had to make 60 observations, 30 pictures of penguins in the Arctic, and 30 pictures of penguins in the grassland. We classified each picture being either grasslands or Arctic by looking at the surroundings. If there was snow in the picture, then we said it was the Arctic. And if there was no snow and it had grass, then we considered it to be the grasslands. Each observation included how many penguins are in each picture, the temperature at which the picture was taken, and if the majority of the penguins are sitting or standing. We didn't worry about any of the other animals, penguin eggs, or if there was any baby penguins known as chicks, because none of those things would affect our research. Lastly, we put all of our data into a Google Sheets to then make it look well organized. Then we averaged all of our data out. We did that by adding all of our first observations in each section so that all the Arctic data would be together and all the grassland data would be together. And then we divided that by 6 because there are 6 people in a group, meaning that there would be 6 observations every time, to then get our results. Next is the materials. The materials used for this project was computers, paper, pencils, pens, highlighters, Google Sheets, Google Docs, the Penguin website known as Zooverse, and calculators.
In our project, Penguin Behavior, our group collected data by examining images of penguins in 2 distinct biomes, the Arctic and the grasslands. Each day, we reviewed approximately 10 photos from each biome, paying close attention to the environment and the penguins' behaviors. As we observed each image, we recorded details such as the climate, the number of penguins, and the specific activities they were doing. Using this information, I was able to average out the patterns in group size, movement, and behavioral responses across the 2 environments. In the grasslands, we consistently found larger numbers of penguins, with an average of 16 visible in each photo, usually in temperatures of around 10 degrees Celsius. In contrast, the Arctic biome displayed much smaller groups, averaging about 4 penguins per photo, with temperatures closer to 5 degrees Celsius. Our data also showed a clear relationship between temperature and penguin behavior. As temperatures dropped in either biome, the penguins were more likely to huddle closely together, likely to conserve heat. When the temperatures rose, however, the penguins became more active and dispersed, often walking around individually or in smaller groups. These observations helped us better understand how penguins adapt their behavior to environmental conditions across different habitats. These patterns suggest that temperature plays a significant role in shaping penguins' social behavior, influencing how they interact with one another and respond to their surroundings. This connection also highlights how even small environmental changes can impact the daily routines and survival strategies of penguins.
Conclude and wrap up our findings. Our study was a part of the citizen science project called Penguin Watch, where volunteers help scientists by identifying and counting penguins in time-lapse photos. Through our observations, we discovered some clear patterns in both penguin population sizes and their behavior. First, we found that penguins appear far more often in the grasslands than in the Arctic. On average, the grassland photos showed much larger groups, while the Arctic images usually had only a few penguins at a time. This suggests that grassland environments may offer conditions that support larger penguin gatherings, whether because of food availability, temperature, or other factors. We also noticed a strong connection between temperature and how the penguins acted. When the temperatures were low in either biome, the penguins tended to sit closer together. This behavior likely helps them conserve warmth in colder conditions. On the other hand, when temperatures were higher, the penguins spread out more. They moved around individually or in small groups, which shows that they were more active when the environment was warmer. These patterns show just how closely penguin behavior is tied to their surroundings. Climate and habitat play a major role in where penguins gather and how they respond to the environmental changes. Even simple observations, like whether penguins are standing or sitting, can tell us a lot about how they adapt. Another part of this project is citizen science. By looking through photos and recording basic details, our group and many other volunteers were able to help scientists handle huge amounts of data. This shows that public participation can make a huge difference in ecological research and helps experts better understand wildlife in remote places. In the end, our study not only taught us about penguins, but also showed us how teamwork between researchers and the public can improve environmental science. Thank you.
The reference that we use is zooniverse.org. We were able to use this website to look at our penguins, and everybody in our group accessed the website multiple times a week, sometimes every day, to get data on our penguins. The cool thing about the website is that when you access it, you're able to choose from 2 different types of penguins. So you're able to choose from penguins in more grassland type environments, and then penguins that live in more like icy environments. And so when you go to click on the website and you click on which specific group that you're wanting to look at, it also gives you tools like a penguin finder. So you just click on every penguin you see and it'll count it all for you, and you just scroll down and you're able to see how many penguins that you counted when you were looking at it. The website has cameras set up in these specific type of environments, and so it'll take multiple pictures of the area throughout the day. And so just depending on what time of day, the temperature is how many penguins you would see. And so sometimes you would see no penguins, or sometimes you would see multiples, and it just kind of depended on when you clicked on the website and looked at it. And so the website was very helpful to us. This is, like I said, how we were able to look at our penguins. And yeah.
Hi again. We also wanted to conclude that we used 2 other references in our paper. We used one article from journalplus.org that had several authors to it, but was able to give us some statistics and just well-known information about penguins itself. We also used an article from the University of Oxford, and as we've said before, the Penguin Watch project is led by the University of Oxford. It just gave us a lot of background information about the project itself and basically what the mission is. That's it for today's episode. Thanks for listening.